God only knows what you've been through. God only knows what they say about you. God only knows how it's killing you. But there's a kind of love that God only knows. God only knows what you've been through. God only knows what they say about you. But God only knows the real you. There's a kind of love that God only knows.
Welcome to Season 2, Episode 4 of Your Journey Is Not Over. My name is Tanya Pearson Randolph. This is my own personal journey, and the expressions and opinions are of my own. I own all the rights to my personal journey and to Your Journey Is Not Over. Neither are to be used, copied, or edited in any way without my consent. I'm going to just jump right back in. Mind you, this is a part of my journey I had locked away, compartmentalized. I was immune to the trauma. And it was also a part of my journey I was showed when I was on my living room floor April 6th. I cannot explain what happened that day going into the night, and I've only discussed it in depth with my team. Yes, I brushed the surface on my podcast, but to go in great detail, only a few know. When I collapsed on my living room floor April 6th, I began seeing, the only way I can describe it is a movie. It was a movie of my entire life, and there were no happy moments in this movie. It was every single thing that had ever hurt me, violated me, traumatized me, and betrayed me. Even things I'd locked away, pushed down deep, and stored away. Things I'd been in denial about. This movie went on for hours and hours. It was pure agony for me to watch. I was so destroyed, so broken, and begging for mercy. Again, I was still talking to God. I have said before, and I will say again, the devil found weakness in me and literally brought me to my knees and took me through hell that night. It had to be the devil, because God would never destroy one of his children in that way. The devil was trying to finish me off, push me over the edge to the point of no return that night. God was standing right there protecting me, and must have knew I was strong enough for this battle. I also had God as my backup. I remember when I gave God the ultimatum, which I'm still ashamed of. I threw my hands in the air and I said, "Dear God, please help me." That's when the movie stopped. All I had to do was say the words. God was on standby, just waiting for me to ask. I was on my living room floor in a house that was completely dark, not one light on, and with no memory of how I got into my bed that night. I have memories or flashes, is how I described it, of me in my bed, and I was crying uncontrollably. It was the worst heartbreaking pain I'd ever felt. So please know, and the reason I'm speaking out about this, and I want anyone who, God forbid, finds themselves in that same situation to please remember, talk to God. He's right there, and he's just waiting for you to ask him to step in. Hand it over to him. He battles the devil better than we do, and he always wins. So moving on in my journey, and this part was excruciating to watch that night. I think I knew, but I'm so soft-hearted or tender-hearted to really comprehend anyone would want to hurt me in any way, let alone purposely. For example, a couple months ago, I had a dream that someone I once trusted and cared about set me up to be hurt. The betrayal, just in a dream, made me cry for 3 days. I'm really sensitive, more than what people know. And again, just dreaming that broke my heart. I can't comprehend or wrap my head around how someone would want to hurt me intentionally. My brain just doesn't process things like that. Yes, there are what we call bad people in the world. But even with bad people, with bad intentions, I still try and search for the good, always. So I was 14, getting ready to be 15 years old. I was a freshman in high school. And slowly, I started losing weight. I remember Christmas, my boyfriend came home for the holidays, and my birthday, which is during the holidays, New Year's Day. and he had made a few comments that I'd lost weight. I was a busy girl. I had school, I was working at the dairy bar, I was also working at a steakhouse. I'd gotten involved in school politics, student council, and then one of my funny stories from high school was a guy friend of mine was running for class president. It wasn't even on my radar until one day he kind of challenged me to run against him. So I accepted the challenge. And just for fun, I ran for class president and I won. Went the next 38 years thinking this guy hated me because of that. And it really bothered me the 4 years we were in school. I liked him as a friend. He was always funny, but I think he took it personal. It was a joke to me. Funny thing is, I came home from Florida in April, my healing trip, and the next day I went to a wedding. He was in that wedding, and it was so nice to see him after all these years, and we made peace and laughed about it. So, yes, school politics. And during this time, I was also in an English class where the teacher just liked me. It wasn't working out with me and her. She had wrote me up a couple times, and finally the dean of girls said, it's time to get out of her class. So I was sent to see my guidance counselor. He was amazing, funny, kind, and understanding. So we were in his cubicle looking over my schedule and looking for a replacement for that English class. As you probably already know, I have a distinct voice, and it carries. And I've been told by my friends from elementary school, even middle school, that they still recognize me through my voice. I guess my voice has never changed, even after all these years. So we're there, and this beautiful tall lady, whom I'd never seen, but knew she must have worked at the school. She smiled and said to my guidance counselor, can I borrow her? He said, yeah, sure. She introduced herself, and she was another guidance counselor at our school. So we walked to the other end of the school, and we get to a door. I had never seen this door before or even noticed it. We walked into what was the school radio station. I was mesmerized. So we went into the office, but I could see into the booth through the glass, intrigued completely. She introduced me to the teacher, and he was amazing. We had a small talk, and quickly he told the student engineer to show me the control panel and to get me on the air. We went into the soundproof glass room. I sat down, put on the headset, and I was showed the control panel. I remember the first time I flipped that switch. I winged it, and something about it felt natural and, of course, exciting. Once I signed off, I was told to go back into the teacher's office. I pretty much had just auditioned for this, and I remember when I walked into his office, he had a big smile on his face. And he said, you sound good. You're a natural. But there's that word, right? He told me I needed to slow down and not to talk so fast. Something I have to continually remind myself, even doing this podcast all these years later. I'm long-winded, and I always have so much to say. So yes, I was a busy girl. I was on schedule, on task. I had a full load. So I just thought that was the reason for my weight loss. You know, growing up, losing the baby weight, so to speak. After the first of the year that year, I was 15 years old. My weight loss had gotten extreme by this time. By the time the dairy bar opened that year, I had dropped from a size 7 to a size 0, and the zeros were big on me. I'm a tall girl, and it didn't look good or healthy. I had started having pass out spells also. When I have thought about this through the years, my first thought has always been, my dad never let me hit the floor. Somehow, he always caught me. I would be talking normal, and all of a sudden, it would be lights out. I would come to with my dad holding my head in my arms up from behind to get my head elevated. This happened so many times. And reflecting back on this time, I can only speak the truth and by my memories. Yes, the movie I had to watch April 6th definitely gave me some clarity. And I can no longer be in denial about what must have been done to me at that time. I do remember everyone around me being about me eating, and I did eat. I got free meals on my shifts at the dairy bar, and I always had the same thing: tenderloin, onion rings, and a hot fudge sundae. And at the steakhouse that I worked at, the salad bar was only 99 cents for employees. And yes, we had food at home. That changed when my dad came in the picture. My mom cooked, so I ate at home too. She was a good cook, and she cooked like my grandma. Southern cooking. I do remember eating at the dairy bar, and they would make me bring my food up front to eat, which was never allowed before. I also remember going to the bathroom after I would eat to wash my hands, and the ladies that I worked with would check on me in the restroom. Not knowing this then, but I know it now, everyone around me thought I was doing this to myself, and I wasn't. Eventually, I got so bad, and the pass out spells were becoming more frequent. I passed out cold again. My dad caught me, and he demanded my mom call an ambulance for me. My weight was down to nothing. I was completely depleted, malnourished, skin and bones. I remember the ride in the ambulance, and I was taken to a community hospital in another city. Had to be God then, too, because I was put into a really good hospital with an amazing team of doctors and nurses. Little did I know on that ambulance ride that I would not return home for 3 weeks. This concludes my podcast for today. Please join me Thursday. Listen in. And always remember, your journey is not over. God bless.
God only knows what you've been through. God only knows what they say about you. God only knows how it's killing you. But there's a kind of love that God only knows. God only knows what you've